Welcome back and happy Halloween. It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, silver shamrock.
As the madness comes to an end, I just want to let you know that it was a lot of work to put all this together, so I'm going to try to make this day easy. What I'm going to do is recap on the state of horror movies in the new millennium. Well, in 1999, a movie came out called The Sixth Sense. I'm sure you heard of it. It was largely successful due to a twist ending, but it's also one of the most successful films ever made and one of the few horror movies to get all kinds of awards. Then in 2000, The Exorcist was re-released in theaters with restored scenes. It proved in this day and age that it's still one of the most terrifying movies ever made. In 2002, we saw 28 Days Later, a movie that made zombies scary all over again. It even brought back the genre. There's been a remake of Dawn of the Dead, a brilliant spoof, Shaun of the Dead, and George Romero, the man who started it all, comes back with Land of the Dead. And speaking of the classics, it seems at this point almost every classic horror movie has been remade. The turn of the century's been polluted with remakes. Remakes of movies that aren't even that old, remakes of movies that have already been remade, remakes of sequels, remakes of really famous movies, remakes of less famous ones, and prequels. It's no doubt that originality has been down the shitter, but if you look in the right spots, there's still some refreshing and scary movies out there. The Japanese horror movies like Ringu and Ju-on, they've been remade in America as The Ring and The Grudge. Still, it's pretty freaky stuff. Cabin Fever was returned to the camp format, but instead of a killer, it's a disease. Despite being a pretty suspenseful and balls-to-the-wall horror flick, this movie is universally hated because of one small scene involving a kid screaming pancakes. Devil's Rejects was one of my favorites in recent years. Definitely a real sick, demented movie, but one with great characters. Rob Zombie's been making a name for himself in the horror business. Some may be hit or miss, but he's one to watch. Slither was another pretty good one. It was like a modern-day 50s monster movie, but done really well and with a lot of gross special effects, which were awesome. Horror movies would continue to grow more and more violent. With series like the Saw and the Hostel movies, there's almost a new torture genre. The first two Saw movies I thought were actually pretty good, but by now I think we should all be desensitized by this shit. But, people like to be scared or disgusted because nothing compares to the horrors of real life. You turn on the news every day, that's the real horror movie right there. So it's all about escaping the real world. It's fantasy. Today, the horror genre is more popular than ever. New horror films come out in theaters like every other weekend, and tons are released straight to DVD. Independent filmmakers are making them, everybody's making them, and they usually make above average profits for below average budgets. So I know I left a lot of movies out of my little recap here and out of my whole history as well. It was hard to pick which ones to review, so I usually stuck to the real famous ones. But there's a ton of others I could have done, so maybe sometime in the future I can review some more, but it was a lot of work, and to tell you the truth, I'm glad to be done. So I hope you enjoyed this. I did it just because it was something I wanted to do, and I'm a really big fan of horror movies, and I just wanted to share my knowledge of it. So have a great Halloween, and signing out, this is Cinemassacre's Monster Madness. I'll see you later.